Good evening, cheeseheads. Welcome to another instant reaction show. Welcome to another How Bad Are We therapy session. Craig, in the house with me tonight, mate. Your face says it all. Let me have it. What do you think? We're not even going to go into starting 11s and all that rubbish, mate. Let's just dissect what we've watched tonight. A game where we needed to... We were 1-0 down. 1-0 down. We were playing at home. Full house. Conte telling the fans to get behind the team and drive them on. And we got served up that. What are your thoughts initially?
My thoughts are I'm angry, I'm disappointed, frustrated, downbeaten, trodden, frustrated. But the sickening thing for me is I'm not surprised by any of it. I'm not surprised at that performance tonight. I'm not surprised at the way we've gone out. I'm not surprised at the tactics. I'm not surprised at the style of play. I'm just not surprised by any of it. And I think that's what hurts the most. You know, Champions League night at home, under the lights, with the full house, we have to be doing better than that. We have to be doing better than that. And to not... The performance was dire from start to finish. It was no better than what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. If you can't get up for that game, and if you can't understand the importance of this game and put in a game plan that plays to the strengths of our team and the players we've got within our team, but more importantly, recognises the situation we was in, that we had to score a goal, what chance have you got? You know, and there's no surprises. There's no surprises to me that I think tonight was a pivotal turning point in the fans turning against Conte en masse. And I think that's heartbreaking.
Not me. I don't want to be like Caller, but I told you this weeks ago it was heading one way. Well, not you, Craig, not you. I mean, I told everyone.
No, yeah.
What did you think, James? Because I think Craig's being a little bit harsh. We went for it in the 6 minutes of added time, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. You know, that 6 minutes of added time, it was like watching the 1970 Netherlands team, wasn't it, really? I mean, I said it earlier. It was like watching two 1950s Italian sides, except with way worse defending, basically. I mean, we lost to a pretty mediocre Milan side. Right, they're not that good. They're not very good.
They haven't won in England in 18 years, have they, James?
No, they haven't. They're not that good, really.
They're rubbish, mate.
They're pretty terrible.
They're an average European team. Mind you, we're average. Oh, we're not where our place. Sorry to put in, mate, but we're not fourth place. We're not a fourth place team. I know we are in the position in the league, but Jesus wept.
They're not that good, and we made them look good, especially away. We had a red card just to top it off. You know, I never had any belief we were going to win that game, and that's really the sad thing. Because, you know, before, even when we would lose, I at least went into the game thinking we can win this, you know. And, you know, maybe if we'd won today, maybe then that little bit of belief starts to come back, you know. But it's just gone. I just sit and I think, well, what's the point, you know? Okay, we might get fourth. Even if we get fourth, what? Where have we progressed from last season? Nowhere. Our star players are a year older. We've got a manager who's probably going to piss off, fair enough. And no real meaningful progress has been made. And we spent quite a lot of money last window. So what was the point? You know? Where's the progress coming from?
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about some points in the game. So we obviously... we needed a goal, but the first half was pretty turgid, wasn't it? We didn't look like a team who went for it first half, did we, Craig? We just played our usual, as we do, our usual 3-4-3. We'll sit in, try and, you know, maybe hit them on the break if we can, even though it's a game we got to win at home. Red card for Romero early again, which... Some say we're pretty harsh. Some say it's just a ridiculous, you know, him going in like that, but ultimately cost us. So when did you expect us to do? I mean, you said it in your, like, when you said in your rant at the start of the show, you didn't expect anything different. Did we play as you'd expect, or did you really? I know we're hurting and we're saying things straight off the bat of the game, but I think I talked myself around to thinking, because I've only seen this ending one way for a long time, but I talked myself around that we would really come out tonight, and it was such a big game, and felt that we'd win 3-1. And then just as you're watching it, you're just thinking nothing's changing here.
Yeah, but I think for me, a few weeks ago, I probably would have felt that would be the case. I would have talked myself around in the same way. I just think the last few results, Sheffield Wednesday, the Sheffield United performance, the weekend, you see the way that we are intent and the way that we go out. There's never anything different, is there? We never play a different style. We never go out and play a different way. So what was going to be different about tonight? What, Conte coming back on the sidelines? And
show it. He weren't, yeah.
No, it makes no difference if he was there or wasn't there. We played the same way. We played the same formation. Why? So no, I'm not surprised. I genuinely didn't think we would do anything other than we did. I thought as the game went on into the second half that maybe, just maybe, we'll go 2 at the back, go to a back 4. Take out. Go to a back 4, 2 up top. Do something, go at them, put 3 in the middle of the midfield, do something different with a bit more of an attacking intent. But no, we kept with 5, even when Romero got sent off.
Even when Romero got sent off. 8 minutes left, 1 down, put a centre-half on, mate.
Put a centre-half on. I mean, come on. What are we doing? And that is, I think I just seen someone's put in the chat, I think that's all Conte. That's not, forget Levy or whatever, Enic.
Yeah. This is where we're at now. I mean, James, I think that's where we're at now. Like, I think Craig's hit the nail on the head. Like, these things that have happened in the last few games, that is on Conte and the coaching staff, isn't it? Like, you can have your beef with the board, and I get a lot of that. I just don't really get on that train. But I'm with all those people. I can understand where they're coming from, and I'm sort of with them a little bit. But what's happening and what's more pressing is what's happening on the pitch. And that is on the management team, isn't it? I mean, the players obviously have to take their bit of responsibility, but they look like they're scared stiff to do anything out the ordinary, aren't they? It's as if we've been playing dull shit football for so long that we've forgotten how to play, like really get after a team, isn't it? Unless we're sort of losing, it just feels like, well, obviously we were losing, but I mean, when we've been 2-0 down in the game and it's shit or bust, we can do it. But like tonight was only 1-0, and it just, it's on the, this is on the coaching staff, isn't it, James? That's my opinion.
Oh,
what do you think?
I think it definitely is. Even the players who I think play all right, who have played all right recently, like I think Skipp has played all right. I think even Emerson, right? It's difficult when our best player is Harry Kane, right?
Yeah.
When he can't get the ball, when he's our primary creative player and basically our only goal scorer, we're not going to do very much, right? Because consistently for the past 4 years, we have overachieved in terms of expected goals because Harry Kane is a really good finisher. If he isn't getting those chances, we're just not going to score. Okay.
No, I mean, he had the best chance today, didn't he? He had the best chance at the end, that header at the end, and he kept moving about today, didn't he? But I listened to a little bit on the radio, mate. I listened to a little bit on the radio when I was doing something. I didn't have the telly on at that point, and Chris Sutton said that they said, what do you think Spurs can do? And he was basically, wow, it'll be on Harry Kane, won't it? He's like the most creative spark. He's the goal scorer. It's just too much, isn't it?
The interesting thing today was Milan were playing the same formation as us. So we weren't over in midfield. We weren't set up massively differently. Obviously, player movement in the actual game is probably more important than formations. But it was very similar tactically. And that's why these 2 games have been so fucking boring to watch and so tedious. I nearly fell asleep. I've had to make myself a coffee just to stay awake. It's just tedious. You have to look at Conte and say, okay, we know how Milan are going to play. what is the best way in this 90 minutes of football at Spurs? We're only 1 goal down. We're at home, get the fans, nice and noisy, half-price pints so everyone's hammered or whatever. How can we exploit their severe tactical weaknesses? Conte didn't do that. He just played the same team he always does. We've lost 2 games in a row. He's just like, right, lads, same again. Just, come on, give it a bit more heart and soul, lads, and we'll beat Milan. No. Oh, yeah, one change. We'll whack Emerson on, and then we'll be way more creative than if we have Porro on. Because don't get me wrong, Emerson's been decent recently, right? I'm not going to give him too much slack. But where's the logic behind that, right? You lose. It's like you have a business, right? You set up your first business. You have a business model. Goes tits up, you go bankrupt. So you think, right, I'm going to set up another business with the exact same business model next door to where my first shop was. And it goes tits up again. And then you do the same thing again. Why is there none? Why hasn't Conte gone, maybe we should make some tactical adaptations? Is he blind?
That ain't
I
happening.
genuinely don't understand.
I'll tell you what it is, mate. It's arrogance and like a self-belief, but it's more or less arrogance, mate. I mean, like Craig, it's just for me, 8 minutes to go, 1 down at home. Probably got Danjuma, even Lucas on the bench, who's proved he's an agent of chaos. When that sub's got to be made, I know you've got to think that maybe possibly the bigger picture, but we don't look like scoring. Would you have brought Sanchez on at that point? I know it's probably
not a chance. No, not a chance.
You've got to have a go then, haven't you?
You've got to get the goal.
Yeah. Otherwise,
exactly. Have a go. I'd rather concede.
Because you can get the goal, Craig, can't you? And then bring a defender on. Yeah. You can get the goal, and if you go into extra time, you make another sub.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I would say, Gibbo. You've got to get that goal. Everything's on that goal. You've got Danjuma, which we've just signed in the January transfer window. Clearly, I don't know what he's done. There's rumours about him going to some event or something, and he didn't have permission to go. But we needed a goal. You've got Moura, as you said, agent of chaos, could have come on. We didn't. We went for Sanchez. And like you said, you get the goal first, then go into extra time, and then you bring the defensive substitution on if you want to keep to 1-1 and take our gamble with penalties, if that's what our tactic's going to be. But you've got to go for that goal in the first place. We didn't. Yeah. And again, I wasn't surprised when you made that substitution.
But Craig, he could have kept Emerson on and put him in the back line, because defending is what he's decent at, and brought on Danjuma or Lucas and just said, we're going to have Lenglet, Davis and Emerson as 3 defenders now, because we've got like 8 left or whatever, and let's bring another attacker on, get Son right close to Kane, and let's get some ball into him. But it's not. It's just so risk averse, even when you're at the point where you can't afford to be risk averse. Isn't it, James? That's so frustrating.
In that situation, what are you risking? Going out from 2-0 as opposed to 1-0? That's surely what a risk that is. You roll the dice at that stage in the game, right? You've got 10 minutes left in the tie or whatever, 10 minutes or 5 minutes plus injury time. You roll the dice, you throw on another attacking option, or you throw on 2 attacking options and just say, fuck it, we'll go for it, right? You do that. I think that's what everyone would want us to do. And if it still doesn't work, then at least you had a go, right?
Yeah.
I don't think any Spurs fan is going to be that annoyed if we're having a proper go in games, we're creating stuff, it just doesn't happen in the 90 minutes. The issue there is Conte's like, lads, don't want to concede another goal, then we'd really be out of it, wouldn't we? Let's just pray Harry Kane magically scores a goal from 0 options. Even though, Kulu looked off it, Son didn't really have much of anything. It's just bizarre. I don't understand Conte's mentality there. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what Danjuma's done. Maybe he slept with Conte's wife. I don't really get it. Okay, maybe he's been a bit of bad. Maybe he hasn't got the correct mentality or whatever bollocks, but I don't give a shit in the last 10 minutes of that game. Throw him on. What? He's on loan. If he's got a terrible mentality, okay, maybe he can contribute something in the months he's here, and then he can piss off and be someone else's problem.
I mean, it's like, Craig, obviously, we're reactionary here today, and we've been saying that AC Milan aren't a great team. But they're obviously a Champions League team. They won their league last year. But as of late, they've been poor, haven't they? I think their results in it, they lost at the weekend, but prior to playing us, they hadn't won for quite a lot of games, had they? They've been really, really struggling. And then then Dr. Tottenham turn up, and it's just like they were probably better tonight than they were in the first leg, and they've had their 2 best games. But do you get where I'm coming from? It's like, why do we? It just for me, and it smacks of like when we played Wolves, mate. We just allow teams to play. We just allow teams to do whatever they like.
Yeah, we're not here to debate whether Milan are average, not average, whether they're going to win the Champions League or not win the Champions League. It's irrelevant. What I care about is how we set up and how we go about to try and set our stall for a game and win a game of football. A game of football we have to win. It doesn't matter. We know when we go out and we play at our level, we can beat the top teams. We've done it. We've beaten Man City. This season, come to at home, we've had good results. There's no one in that Milan team as a 11 that I fear as a Tottenham at our best. We should fear that Milan side. I think getting that draw, I don't think anyone felt. I certainly didn't feel. It's not like we've been drawn against Barcelona or Real Madrid. It's not that fear in terms of what we're going to do. I genuinely thought we had a good chance. The reality is we've had 2 legs against them, and in those 2 legs we've created the sum of nothing.
Yeah.
And in this leg, the most recent one tonight, when all we had to do was score a goal. We had to score 2 goals tonight if we didn't want it to go to penalties, and we've had 2 shots on target.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. And I'm quite pragmatic ordinarily, but anyone can see, and I can see, that this stinks. It stinks of that. It's coming to the end. It's that typical performance of someone, a manager, that's coming to the end.
So where do we go, James? I mean, do we try and dissect the game and talk about it? Because I just feel from watching that, it was sort of like, you might be able to put this into better words than me, but it just felt like, even though it was a must-win game, and for Spurs fans it was big, it just felt like a nothing game in the end for me. I just sort of sat there watching it, hoping maybe we'd get something. And then part of me thinking, I don't want to go into extra time. We've got to do this show, and I don't want to stay up extra half hour later. Do you know what I mean? It just smacks like that at the minute. And I've never been the sort who I don't want Spurs to lose ever. But in the back of my mind, I've had that niggling feeling thinking, well, silver lining, maybe if we lose, we can fuck Conte off. But because that's how I've been for ages with it. I've seen the football we've been playing is unsustainable. You can't just keep playing like that. There's no life in it or anything. So can we dissect that game, or do we just talk about where we go? Are we just better off talking about what we do next?
I think the easiest way to summarize that game is you could change the opposition. And you could show me highlights from that game versus the Wolves game or the Sheffield game. And you could Photoshop the other team's players. And I probably wouldn't be able to tell you what game it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't ever look like we're playing to win. We look like we're playing to not lose. And inadvertently, if you don't play to win, you don't win.
Yeah.
You lose.
Yeah. So, well, that's how we play, isn't it? Like, I felt that for a long time. We play, just make sure you don't lose.
This for me, Gibbo, tonight. The sentiment in the chat, the sentiment amongst us 3 here, it's not as a consequence of what happened tonight. It's as a consequence of what's been happening over the last few weeks, over the last couple of months. And like I say, Gibbo, you've been vocal for quite a long time about the football and what you want to see. For me, the turning point was Chef U. That's for me was the point where I'm thinking this isn't good enough. This is a momentum killer. And the problem we've got now is if we don't make a change, this season will just fizzle out to nothing because we have got no momentum. We've got nothing on our side. Liverpool got the 7-0 thrashing of Man United the weekend. They're hot on our heels again. We've got
to play them.
Exactly. We need to flip the switch. Something needs to change, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen as long as Conte is there. So, all this stuff about does he see the season out? He can't. And one thing I would say, Levy's got a lot to answer for about this appointment, about the Mourinho appointment, about everything else. He's got a lot to answer because Conte was never the right person for this club in terms of what we believe to be Levy's approach around the direction of the club and the way we want to approach football at this football, the way we want to approach our strategy for football at this club. But
absolutely,
he's made that he's made the mistake. He needs to swallow it now, and he needs to take the right thing and do what's necessary, which is make the change. It has to happen, and it has to happen this week.
See, I think, coming to you, James, I think that a new manager, whoever it is who comes in, that's not going to be a quick fix. These players have let down a few managers, but they've been playing this type of shit negative football for about 4 or 5 years now, some of them. And it's not that easy to flick that switch. I mean, we have got players though who, if they bring in a more attack-minded way, we could get better. Like your Porro, Porro could have started tonight, couldn't he? We're after a goal, for fuck's sake. Start the bloke. But James, do you see this just dragging on now? Because for me, we call Conte an elite manager. But what elite manager wants to get when then people on one hand they say he's an elite manager, then on the other hand they say, but he's better when he gets knocked out of all the trophies and we're playing one game a week. What absolute nonsense is that?
It's ludicrous. I mean, Mauricio Pochettino's got to as many European finals as Antonio Conte has. Yeah. So is Mauricio Pochettino better than Antonio Conte? You do kind of wonder that, because in a sense, you look at what Conte's done. Okay, he was at Juventus. He had players like Pirlo. Was it Waddle? Hojbjerg? He had world-class players, right, in every position, almost. Yeah. Goes to Chelsea. He has prime Conte, prime Eden Hazard.
Yeah.
Diego Costa scoring nearly 30 goals a season. I mean, admittedly, some mini successes like Victor Moses or whatever. Very good team in a season everyone else was kind of in transition, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes to Inter and he goes, he got into their first title in a decade. Ericsson, Lukaku scoring nearly 30 goals.
Barella.
Martinez. That's a brilliant team. I think most half-good managers probably challenge for that. And I mean, Jose Mourinho's doing good in Italy, and we know he's shit now. So I don't know. Where do you go from here? We've played the same style of defensive, boring, crap football for 3 years now? 3.5 years. It's just tedious to bloody watch. I mean, Jose, Nuno, Conte, basically all done the same thing, haven't they? They all did a similar thing. Nuno probably has probably done a better job than a couple of them. But in a sense, what do we want to do? You look at our team, you do feel as if, whoever comes in the summer, going to have a massive clear out. No ifs and buts, like what Pochettino did when he first arrived. Huge clear out. Secondarily, there needs to be a clear identification of the way we want to play from the top, or from a manager who is going to have a long-term commitment to the club. Because you need to sign hungry young players who are going to fit into a certain style of play. I'm not saying it has to be exactly the same every week, because obviously you need to be flexible tactically. Yeah. But there has to be some kind of underlying philosophy in how we play. It took Arteta 3 years to do it at the horrible other North London club, but we do kind of have to do something a little bit similar. And the thing is, we are much further ahead now
than we were when Poch came in.
Yeah, I mean, we still have Harry Kane. We still have some very good players. You look at Destiny, we have Porro. Romero had a shocker, but he's not a bad player, is he really? We do have some very good players at the club. Kulusevski, right? We have plenty of good players. We just need to actually decide how we're going to bloody play and not this defensive turgid crap, right? Yeah, well, I'll send my CV in to Levy. Maybe if my surname was Mourinho, he'd hire me. But my worry here is when Conte does go, it's going to have to be a big name. Because Levy wants the big name. Because Levy doesn't really understand how football works. He just wants big name. Oh, big name, good. He's a good manager, so he'll fit us. That's how football works.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Craig, I think do you think he will pull the trigger after tonight, or do you think he will wait until he thinks we're because like top 4 at the minute, we're in with a really good shout. If he thinks that's going to slip away, that's when he'll get rid of him, because that's what he usually sacks managers for, because that's all important, that top 4 to him. But it doesn't have to, and just one thing as well, mate. It doesn't have to be Poch, does it? For me, it has to be just somebody who can come in, will work in that capacity how we work, is happy to do so, wants to be the next big thing, wants to push this club on, talks about us as if we're, as in us. This is what we're trying to do. This is how we're going to rectify things, and just tries to and is adaptable. Thinks. Well, like even Lopetegui for Wolves, mate, completely changed the game for them. Was brave enough to change it, and they've not been great, but he was brave enough to change it to try and beat us, and it worked for him. That's what we want to see, isn't it?
Yeah, but Gibbo, do you believe, as of now, what we've been seeing, over the last 5 weeks, that we will get top 4?
Absolutely. No, Liverpool will overtake us.
Right.
And the one thing I say that as well, mate, is because that week where we play Man U, Newcastle and Liverpool, we won't get many points out of that. And Liverpool needed a big result against Man United, and they turned up and got it. And I said the other day, good results. Sorry, Greg, I'm just going to finish. No. Good results against Chelsea and West Ham. West Ham are absolute bobbins, for one. They are awful. And we played Chelsea at a time, if we didn't beat them then, we were never going to beat them. So carry on. Sorry, Craig.
Mm-hmm. No. So on that basis, if no one, from what I can see on this panel, or people, the comments I'm seeing in the chat, supports the view that we're going to get top 4. So on that basis, what's Levy have to wait for? He may as well pull the trigger now. May as well make the decision. We need a shift. We need something to come in and change.
Yep, I agree with you, mate. I've been saying it for
lost you there. We need it. Yeah, we need a change. We need something to trigger it. So he's got to make the change. I'm not saying it's Poch. I'm not saying it has to be Poch. I just want someone that's going to come in with the right style of football, try and get us to play some games, get some confidence back in the team, because we have got good players. We aren't that bad a squad. We're just not utilising them to their full strengths. I think people have said in the chat, I think we've said before, you've said before, the players are bored.
Yeah. Everybody's bored. Everybody's bored.
Exactly.
And the worst thing is like, he is not going to be here next season, I don't believe. And I think most people believe that. And that swell's turning now. So we're out of everything. Top 4 is going to be a challenge. So we've got some games against teams that should be winnable. So let's change it now. And if we're going to have that manager bounce, let's beat these teams we should do. And then when it gets to the Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle games, we'll have some confidence, and hopefully we'll be playing with a little bit more vigor and a little bit more, a little bit more tempo to give us a better chance. But, I mean, but here's another one, James. If the manager, they can't get the manager they want till the end of the season. Because if it's Poch, probably could get him now if he was happy to come in. But if it's someone else, do you sack Conte and let Mason take over to the end of the season? Or do you think, look, just keep Conte and let it go? Because we've got we've got a better chance with Conte even like this than we have with Mason, who's got literally no experience apart from those few games he did for Spurs at the end of the other season.
I think it depends if the dressing room becomes toxic. If the dressing room becomes toxic, then you sack Conte. Right?
Mate, them players have been letting managers down since for years and years. So I wouldn't base my opinions on that lot.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully whoever we get in, be it tomorrow, if it's going to be Pochettino, it will be Pochettino. We know he's coming back, right? It's happening. Unless it's me. You never know. It might actually be me. You don't know, do you? It's going to be Pochettino. But if it's someone in the summer, then you have to have a culling of the squad. I mean, we should have done this periodically for years. But if the dressing room becomes so toxic they can't even be bothered, then you get rid of him. If it's going to be someone in the summer, then I think you wait until then, because Love Ryan Mason. I'm not super confident about him managing us though when we're pushing for top 4. Personally, then again, we might play some more interesting football. But he'd be dragging Harry Winks back from Italy, and he'd be playing every game. So, wouldn't fancy that.
Yeah, here we go. Yes, Yaz has said tonight is a setback. You shouldn't build your future on tonight's setback. I think Sheffield United was the big one to start off with, and I think tonight's just compounded a lot of people's thoughts on what's been going on. Because, really, for me, I know we're going back slightly, but that was the first piss poor management thing. Really, we started to build a bit of momentum at really the business end of the season. FA Cup quarterfinals to come, Craig. Big Champions League game to come. Big push for the top 4, and we just completely killed the momentum on that night, didn't we? You were there, so you get a gauge of people's feelings.
Our season is over. Our season's done. We're cooked in a week. In the space of a week, we are done. And in that week, we played 3 games. 8 shots on target in 3 games, probably. I think.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, we had 2 tonight, didn't we? Did we have 2 tonight?
2 tonight.
2 on
3
target.
against Sheffield. 3 against Sheffield, maybe was it? 4? I can't remember.
Mate.
Not enough. But it's as much as I said before. I feel like I'm a broken record. This is on Conte. This is all on Conte. Don't get me wrong. As I said, the board, Levy, Paratici, they all need to have a long look at themselves as well, because there's much to blame in terms of where we got to this position. But ultimately, in football, the person that takes the hit is the manager. And in this case, now, that's Conte. The buck stops there. Conte made the decision to bring on Sanchez for Kulu when we needed a goal. Yeah. That was on Conte. Conte made the decision to stick with the back 5, even when we was chasing the game down to 10 men. It's on Conte. The Conte's the not being able to motivate a group of players or send the players out in a way that they can get enough shots on target to challenge in a 2-legged tie in the Champions League is on Conte. So, it's not good enough. We need a change. Whoever it changes, I don't care who it is at this point. I genuinely don't care. We just need someone to come in who's going to invigorate the players, get something going with the fans, play the right way of football, and let's see what happens between now and the end of the season. At least go out fighting. I wouldn't have cared tonight. I don't mind going head to head with the best teams in Europe and losing as long as we go for it. My problem with this performance over these 2 legs is that we haven't even tried. Really, it's been a containment job, and I think we've not gone for it.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, you saw like I said, I listened to a bit on the radio just before I came in. Then you listen to the panel, James at halftime, Crouch, Rio, Glenn Hoddle, Genius can sometimes, and the commentator. I think he likes Spurs, but I think it just does disappoint him watching us. And they're all sort of like, Spurs are boring and need to have a go and stuff. And they can all see it, can't you? And just everybody knows. And we're just at this part of the season where we're just going through the motions now. And do you think he's lost the players, Conte, or do you think he's just the atmosphere has done the players? What do you think it is?
I think it's a combination of things, right? I mean, to some extent, it's got to be difficult as a player to buy into the things Conte's doing, because he does the same things over and over and over again. He's doing the same things, right? And as a player, why are you going to buy into every single thing this guy says when you know he's going to piss off in a few months' time? You just kind of think, well, you're saying all these things. You're being paid more than me to be here. And you're not going to commit to the club? Like, why should we follow you? It's like there's going to be an element of that. I think part of it also is we have players who play this one very specific style, which is an outdated style of football, and we're just tactically fucking inept. Like, I've seen more tactical flexibility from managers in the 7th tier of Lithuania.
Yeah.
It's just tragic. It reminds me of when I used to play football and we'd play 4-4-2 every week. It's just, there's probably more bloody flexibility in that.
See, this is what annoys me. I've seen a tweet now. Genuinely feel sorry for Antonio Conte. Another serial winning manager broken by Levy and Enic. When is this pain going to end? I'm not having that. even though I'm Levy out, I'm not having that. He's been backed substantially, I think. You might rate the players or you might not rate some of them, but he has had players come into this club and we were good at the end of last season. And this season, we have really, really regressed. And there is, Craig, there's no justification for that, is there? You can't defend that, can you? You cannot defend how bad we've been tactically and like the players mentally and everything you try and do on a football pitch. It's just not been good enough, has it? And I just feel like that's all we're doing now. But I think the swell is that this has turned out from a Milan instant reaction show to pretty much a how soon can we get Conte out the door show, hasn't it?
I mean, Conte's just given his press interview after the game, and you can. I'm just reading snippets of what he said, but you can predict exactly what he said because it's the same tripe that we've been hearing after the last 3 down performances. Players tried everything, they gave everything, they couldn't have done anything else.
Well, in a way,
I don't know what to say.
Within the confines of that setup, they can't really do very much. Yeah. It's a tactical flaw that we keep seeing and seeing and seeing. Like, ultimately, as a manager, you have to put in place a strategy and tactics which are going to get the best out of your players. And I'm fundamentally not convinced Antonio Conte's done that in his entire time of being here.
I mean, lads, isn't it? Antonio Conte, I have a contract with Tottenham and I'll respect the contract. In the end of the season, we'll talk with the club. They might sack me in the end. Who knows? This season, for sure, we have failed to improve. Now, this time, can't you remember when we lost to Burnley and he was like, oh, I think maybe I should go. If I'm not good enough, I should go. That's just all bullshit, isn't it? When he says stuff like that. Because he ain't going to, if that's the case, walk now. If you're going to walk now. But it's not. It's all bravado and bullshit. And he ain't even got that in him now. He's just, we'll wait till the end of the season and talk.
The thing at very least after that Burnley game,
never on him,
right, was when we lost. This was last season, wasn't it? At least he obviously cared. He got very upset, which is how he responds to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's an emotional response to caring. He gave a shit, in other words. I can translate his most recent comments for you. I'm not going to leave because I quite fancy quite a lot of money. And if I just walk now, I don't get that huge sum of fucking money. And if I just stay here and kind of half-arse it, I get that money and I can piss back off to Italy. No other club in Europe is going to blame me because it was Spurs, it was the players, it was Levy, it was Enic. So this wasn't really my failure. I'm still a top coach. I got £30 million and I can piss off to another club, get a load more money. So why would I leave now? Let's make them pay me off. Which, to be fair, if I was managing, I don't know, AC Milan, for example, club I don't really care about, I'd probably do the same thing. I mean, wouldn't most people? But basically what it means, isn't it? Sack him, get him gone. I don't care who comes in. Get someone in who is going to have the time to bring through young, hungry players. We have to fucking design our recruitment strategy because it has been shocking. I think it's getting a bit better.
Yeah, it has got a bit better, to be fair.
It's a step in the right direction with our recruitment policy. But that needs some work as well. Just get someone in who we can get behind, because I don't mind us not winning every game, obviously, as long as I can see we're going in a direction, right? You know, if you're playing badly, but it's a young team, you can kind of go, okay, they're young. We're going for it, right? But you look at teams like Brighton, and you just think, well, they've picked up some bloke from, De Zerbi, okay, from Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
That his job in Ukraine was his first top job. And they're playing better football than they were under Potter. And I just look at that and I think, are Brighton really that good player for player that we can't be playing a similar style of football and winning games? No, we absolutely can be. It's a tactical choice and a choice in our recruitment and a choice in our management. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand how the very highly paid executives at the club don't see this, unless I am woefully wrong about everything, including, I'm guessing, a large majority of Spurs fans, or maybe I should be sporting director for Tottenham Hotspur. because seemingly most of us have a better understanding than they do. I don't get it.
It's mind blowing, isn't it? I mean, I've just looked. Sky bet Antonio Conte's 15-8 now to get the tin tack.
Well,
But
tenner on that.
what? But like, so we think that Levy will do something if he thinks we're not going to get top 4. But this is where this is what I've not really been we sort of are. Levy has made a lot of mistakes in the board, and you sort of think we need to move on from them. But this is where he needs now. He's made these big decisions before. He's got to do something now. Craig, do you think that if he doesn't make that decision now, do you think it's because they want, obviously everybody, every man in his dog, whether you want him or not, thinks it's Poch? I listened to some other pods and people on there saying they've heard it from good sources that it is going to be Poch, and you hear other people say it. But do you think, because if he wanted Poch, that's the man who's going to take over, could sack Conte tomorrow and Poch should be in on Friday before that game. Does this make you think, if he doesn't do anything, does this make you think that maybe Poch isn't the man they'll go for? Or do you think it's just to do with we don't want to pay him off?
Yeah. I think so. I think that's spot on, Gibbo. I think my personal view is Conte needs to go now. We need to make a change. But you've got to have, what you can't do, in my opinion, is sack Conte or, Conte quits or walks, whatever it's going to be, with no plan. There's got to be a clear plan. Like when we sacked Pochettino, the very next morning, Mourinho was announced, was it 6 a.m. in the morning, whatever the announcement was made. It's got to be that type of situation. There has to be a plan. If there's not a plan, he'll stick with what he's got. And until such point as he's got that plan. But if we, his position in my mind's eye is so close to untenable now. It really is. It can't continue. And I've got no faith that we're going to do anything against Forest on Saturday. No faith. So, if we lose at home against Forest, White Hart Lane will be toxic. It will be awful.
If you were at that Man United game, it will be like that. I think we'll
which
be.
I was.
I think
which
even
I was.
if Conte's there, I think we'll stink a result against Forest. I think we're likely to go to Southampton the week after and possibly get beat. And then our next home game we'll win. And then next away game we'll struggle. And I think little results will just keep him going. And I could even see us having that week where we play Newcastle United and Liverpool. That will be the end of the top 4. And then they'll get rid of him and they'll let Mason go to him. But then by that same token, Lev is under massive pressure, as he always is now, because of things that have happened in the past. So he's got to appoint somebody. He's got to make the right decision on this, because if he lets it carry on, he's going to get shit. If he gets rid of Conte, but he doesn't have anybody to come in, he's going to get shit, isn't he, James? So it's now that big decision's got to be made, and I think that the right. Well, I think I'm hoping the right decision is that they'll sack him, but I think they've got to do it soon.
Daniel Levy needs to pick up his phone. Don't know what phone Daniel Levy has. Guessing it's a new, very expensive one. He needs to, him, Perisic, and whoever else, need to get on the phone. Surely they must have had some vague idea of who they might want. If it's Pochettino, which it's going to be, isn't it? Give Mauricio a ring. Say, do you want to come back, please, mate? Then get him in. You sit down, you have a chat. Then you ring up Antonio and say, sorry, mate, it's not worked out. Antonio's going to go, cheers, lads. I'm back off to Italy. He won't give a shit. And then tomorrow, Pochettino signs the contract. Or, before Saturday, he signs the contract. And then you announce it. Conte's gone. Then about an hour later, you say, Pochettino's back. You shoot some stupid little video of him with the shirt or him coming back to a welcome back sign or something. I don't know. Some PR media bollocks, which no one gives a shit about, and I'd rather we didn't waste our time on. That's what you do. If you sack Conte, you immediately announce whoever the successor is. I don't mind if we have to wait a week because we're getting in De Zerbi or whoever, right? But that's what you do, okay? He needs to go before top 4 is impossible. He needs to go sooner rather than later, but we need to line up the successor before he goes, in my view, because there needs to be a clear transition. You know, it needs to be Conte's there one day, you guys there the next. It can't be, oh, Ryan Mason's in charge for a week, then another guy comes in. I don't think that helps us. I really don't think that helps us.
So yeah, then. Sorry, James. I'll come back to you. So, Craig, who do you think it's going to be then?
I think it will be Poch. I think it's as good as done. If I'm being honest, I think the relationship's there. They've continued the relationship. Pochettino's been flirting with us, hasn't he, from afar on Instagram? I'm in London, guys. Look at me with his team
here's
around
my
him.
ass.
Here's my exactly.
Hey guys, I'm in the local fans club having a pint with Barry.
Exactly. Yeah.
No reason, just pop down here for a pint of
with his Spurs tracksuit on, playing golf.
Fans singing for Poch tonight.
Yeah, and on the way out of the ground as well. I've seen my brother sent me a video. Of them coming down and singing it. So it will be Pochettino. I don't think it has to be Pochettino, by the way. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Poch coming back in, but it will be Pochettino. I think it's inevitable. So let's just get it done.
Do you want Poch, Craig, or do you just want something that you can get behind?
I just want something I can get behind, Gibbo. A style of play to go at teams, to try. Yeah. You know, Pochettino loves Tottenham. Tottenham loves Pochettino.
We're a club that needs that, aren't we? We're a club that need that type of leadership and figurehead. Because when you're at when you're at an elite club, that's what the manager is. The manager's a figurehead. He's not just your coach. He's sort of like, do you know what I mean? All encompassing, isn't he? And like I said in our group chat, our team plays like Conte's demeanour, don't they?
Yeah. The biggest issue here, the biggest challenge is what happens with Perisic. Now we know we've got the ongoing thing about this ban. Won't he be banned in across FIFA regulations, etc.? Will he be here at the end of the season? Not at the end of the season. If Levy makes a decision that he wants Poch back, and let's be honest, it's not going to be Perisic's decision to bring Pochettino back. It will be.
He wasn't in the end, was it?
Exactly. It was Levy. It'll be Levy's decision. What happens? You know, does Perisic stay? If Conte does go, does Perisic survive? You know, I actually think, for what it's worth, I think he's done some good. Done some good work in terms of the squad overhaul and getting some good players in. So I think I would like him to stay, but it will be interesting because I don't believe, from what I can see, that Perisic and Poch, in terms of the style of play they have, are compatible.
Yeah. James, who do you think is coming in? And is it going to be, and do you think is it going to be imminent or end of season?
It's going to happen sooner rather than later, surely. I mean, Levy's got to have the balls. He's got to man up. That's what he's got to do.
And who's it going to be then?
Oh, I don't know, because, you know, it's a really tricky one. I reckon it's going to be someone who actually wants to live in London, you know, the kind of guy who, I've got a weird, feeling it might be this Argentinian geezer who, he's always around in London. It's going to be Pochettino. And I don't hate that. I don't mind that. The one thing we do have to reserve judgment on is it took Pochettino a season to get our old team going. We might not be back to peak. We won't be back to peak Pochettino straight away. It's going to take a while. And it's going to take some squad overhaul. The one thing I will say is it will do three things, him coming in. If he came in tomorrow, it would do one thing. It would reduce a hell of a lot of the toxicity at the club, because I think a lot of the fans like it.
James?
Yeah, it's frozen.
I think he's frozen.
I just want to come back to a comment, if that's okay. Jay in the chat posted this, and I think it's an interesting point, because I don't remember. I was obviously at a lot of the games that season as a season ticket holder. I don't remember massive clamours for Pochettino to go. If I'm being honest, I don't remember it being that way. There was obviously disappointment in terms of we wasn't peak Poch, we wasn't playing particularly well. The press wasn't there, and it wasn't our best season. But there wasn't a massive clamour like there's a clamour now for Conte for Conte to go. I think
Yeah.
you know, I think it was the right decision. Well, in hindsight,
Yeah.
actually, it wasn't the right decision. That's been proven now because
Yeah.
you know the successful the 3 appointments since have all been absolute abject failures.
I'm with you. I said it. I love Pochettino. I loved him.
Yeah.
But at the top, it was time to go. They were in a loveless marriage. He'd been burnt out. The club had burnt him out. The moving of the ground when he didn't sign anyone, the whole Champions League thing, all that. He was shattered by it. And obviously, it just felt like they were in a loveless marriage. And he needed a break, didn't he? He needed that. He needed the ties to be cut. And you were right, because I spoke to fans who I knew then. They were like, no, we just got to stick with him and give him time. And that's what we should have done and let him rebuild the team in his image. But we should have let him sell some of the players who he wanted to get rid of while he was there, shouldn't we? And that never happened.
Poch didn't do well. Poch made mistakes as well. He was going to make mistakes. You don't stay at a club for that long and not make mistakes. Of course, he made mistakes. You know, some of the signings that he sanctioned were mistakes. You know, obviously he wasn't. There was trouble in backing him in those peak years of the stadium being built, etc. And we should have pushed on.
But he turned down players as well, didn't he?
Of course he did. Exactly. Of course he did. So it's you know, we've got to remember that it wasn't all rosy at the end of the Poch era. It really wasn't. The football wasn't great,
absolutely.
you know. But like you said, we love him. He loves us. That's what I think we need right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what else. But the one thing I do agree with, Craig, is that get Poch back. If that's what they're going to do, just do it. If that's what you're going to do, just do it. But there are players in this squad who have let manager after manager down when the chips are down and things go like that. They just down tools, and they've let. So we have got to get rid of those players. We have got to move those players on, or like your likes of Davies, who's been really steady, and I don't hate him, but he needs to be a squad player. The same as Dier, but your Sanchez's have got to go. Do you know what I mean, Craig? Some of these players have just got to go now, and if he comes back, he needs like a pretty much a blank canvas. Apart from Kane, I mean, Kane's an anomaly, isn't he? Maybe you can start getting a tune back out of Son, but they're getting older as well, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, Kane. I think we've got. We're at a pivotal. The frustrating thing for me is, we went. Pochettino took us to this amazing level, in terms of we come close to winning the league, got to the Champions League final. Everything was great. We're playing great football. That season at the old White Hart Lane Stadium, we didn't lose at home for the whole season. It was just absolutely levels that none of us had seen in our lifetimes as Spurs fans, certainly younger ones. I say younger ones, middle-aged men, and the idea of the Mourinho appointment and the Conte appointment was to try and elevate us to another level, was to try and take us to get to that point of winning trophies. The reality is, for various different reasons, a lot of it on Levy's head and the board's head, is we've now gone backwards. So we are now back, not too dissimilar a place to when Poch originally first came into us. We are going to lose Kane. I think it's inevitable we're going to lose Kane. If it's not in the summer to Man United, I think so. I think if it's not in the summer to Man United, I think he will run his contract down and leave for free. Why would he commit at this point, at this juncture? Why would he commit? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, by the way, because it might be the refresh of the squad we need. I'll tell you one thing as well. My gut feel is that Levy won't let him run his contract down. He'll sell him.
Yeah, well, I can't see him letting him run his contract down, but
no,
I don't know. It's just so difficult to call, because a while ago I did think we were. I thought he was going to sign a new contract. I wasn't necessarily thinking Conte would, but I didn't think it would go like it has now. I thought we just sort of drift a little bit to the end of the season, but I thought we would have a FA Cup run, and I thought we would have a bit of momentum with Conte. But then more stuff happens, like his illness, which you can't help. But I just think that's just snowballed onto all the other shit, and just like a snowball of shit now, isn't it, James?
It's just depressing.
Yeah.
It's just fucking depressing. Like, and here's the thing you have to think about. If, hypothetically, Pochettino comes in. Why did he do well first time round? Okay, what was the stage of the squad? It was young players who were hungry, right? Our squad isn't that now. You have a squad that is going to have to be refreshed and turned over, and that's going to be a huge challenge for whoever comes in. Also, expectations are now higher than when Pochettino first came in. We've got Champions League one season. We finished top four like twice in the past, I don't know, however many years when Pochettino took over, and that was because Gareth Bale had a brilliant season, as did Luka Modric. We had bloody Harry Redknapp as manager. All right, like expectations now much higher. We're going to have this huge squad transition. The stakes are much higher now, and yeah, there's more money theoretically, but is that going to be invested well? It's tricky. It's just painful because I don't believe anymore. And I'm young and naive. I'm 20, right? I only really remember in true detail football from when I was like 12, 13.
Yeah.
So I remember like Pochettino years. Like I remember the first football tournament I remember in vivid detail was the 2016 Euros because, as you can imagine, why? Because that was quite enjoyable for me as a Wales fan. But from then on, I have very good memory of football for the most part. I remember watching Wales, I think, win, and we qualified for the 2021 Euros it became, and Pochettino got sacked that night. That actually really bothered me, Pochettino getting sacked. Yeah, he should have been sacked at the time. In hindsight, I agree. But you could tell he wanted to be at the club. Losing Champions League final broke him. There was a year of stagnation before that. And this is why I don't like the whole Poch has failed thing. He was terrible last year. Yeah, he was. But that squad was aging. We lost Moussa Dembele. He was aging. The back line was aging. Jan went. Toby was struggling after that. Danny Rose was struggling. Kieran Trippier was off a year later. That entire team had to be refreshed. It should have been refreshed earlier. Is that fair to pin on someone like Pochettino? You could say he failed at PSG. Well, Tuchel failed at PSG, then won the Champions League with Chelsea. He took a young, hungry team, then he got appointed manager where your job is basically stroking the egos of very, aging superstars in PSG. I don't think that's a real job in management. That's not a real job, right? You get any suck up in the world to manage PSG and they'll do an okay job, to be fair. That's not a real job in management, is it? I don't think it is. So the first thing we have to do in the summer, regardless of who comes in, we have to identify who we are building this team around long term, what our identity is going to be, and we go for that and we full send that. That's what we do. And if it means selling Son or selling Kane, we have to be brave enough to do that and reinvest the money wisely. And that will make or break whether we are going to be a serious top football team over the next 3 years. More so than any managerial appointment.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, mate, I'm with you. But at the moment, I feel that any competent manager could come and lead this Tottenham team at the minute and would have as much chance of finishing top four as Conte does at the minute. That's how any competent manager.
Something interesting, actually, is when Sarri took over at Chelsea after Conte left, a lot of the players really, really took to Sarri. Despite him smoking about 100 cigarettes a day, which is mental. How the hell do you find the time to manage that, right? They liked him because they played slightly more expansive football. He wasn't monitoring, if they ate one too many, if they had ketchup on their sandwich or, on their bacon in the morning, right? I think that totalitarian approach to management can work at times, but at other times, yes, I don't think it works in the modern era quite so well. I'm not saying that players should be sat eating chocolate bars and, they shouldn't be outside smoking a pack of Marlboros and having a bottle of Johnny Walkers in the evening. I'm just saying, maybe to some extent, you do have to trust football players to be professionals. And maybe, it's not the end of the world if they have a bit of brown sauce, right, on their scrambled egg, is it? It's things like that kind of make me think we need someone who's going to come in and the players are going to warm to, and it's going to lift the air of.
That's what we need, James. James, that's what we need. We need the atmosphere lifting. We need some positivity around the club to push us on. So we've been going nearly an hour now. So my final question is going to be, Craig, to you first. Does Conte last till the end of the season? Yes or no?
No.
James, Conte for you. Is he going to make it to the end of the season?
Fuck no.
No. When do you think it happens then, Craig?
I think it has to happen this week for me. It has to happen this week.
Yeah, but what do you think it will?
I think it will. Well, I think it has to, yes. I think it will. I think it'll be this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
James, you?
Same. I think Levy's going to go and line up who the replacement's going to be. And as soon as that's organised, he'll go. So I think in the next 10 days.
What do you think, Gibbo?
No, mate. I think he'll have that in his mind now. He'll think about getting rid of him. I think we'll beat Forest, and I think that will give him a stay of execution. I think we'll probably go in and have a bad result away at Southampton, and that will change their mind again. Then he'll get a result against Bournemouth, and I just think it will go on like that. And I think it will happen when top four's finished, and they'll just get the negativity away from the club then. But I think Levy will leave it too late. I think he's stuck in between a rock and a hard place, and I don't think he's got the arsehole to sack him. But I can only hope, mate. I hope he does go. I hope he goes tomorrow. But so yeah, look, we've been going an hour now. We haven't really spoke about the game, have we? We've talked a little bit about the shit show, but we've all talked about what we believe the problem is. So, Craig, thanks for coming on and
thank you. Sorry, I was being so negative tonight. It was just I've never felt as down about Tottenham in a long time as I do tonight, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only saving grace I've got is I made the decision not to go tonight and to sell my ticket.
Yeah. So you
So I
go
haven't
straight
got
to bed.
exactly. I haven't got the drive home till 2:00 in the morning. Yeah.
And James, I know we lost you for a bit, and we've stopped you from going down the student union bar or whatever, mate. But thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, mate.
Pleasure to be on as ever. Well, I'm doing a sober month for those interested. I'm halfway through it, which is very painful, I must add, especially after watching that performance. I mean, I actually have a bottle of Jack Daniels on this shelf. The urge to take it and consume the entire bottle after watching that performance of football was immense. But we've powered through. Lovely to be on. This has been a sober rant from me today. And as for my internet going out, blame the University of Portsmouth. But come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, and I suppose even
on,
after a
Spurs.
bad performance, that's all we can say. Come on, you Spurs.